Forget everything you thought you knew about ending the war in Ukraine. Trump boasted he could do it in 24 hours, but the Kremlin just delivered a brutal reality check. In a move that sent shockwaves through Washington, Moscow has publicly slammed the door shut on U.S. peace proposals, calling them utterly unacceptable. Why? What are Putin's non-negotiable demands that Trump simply can't meet? And why is Trump now lashing out not just at Putin, but at Zelensky too, over a mysterious mineral deal gone sour? The carefully crafted narrative of progress is crumbling, revealing stalled talks, rising anger, and a shocking military buildup. Stick with us as we peel back the layers of diplomatic failure, expose the behind-the-scenes clashes, and reveal what this crushing rejection really means for the future of the conflict. You won't believe what's been happening behind closed doors. In a stunning rebuke to Donald Trump's bold claims of being able to end the Ukraine war in just 24 hours, the Kremlin has publicly dismissed his latest U.S. peace proposals as fundamentally unacceptable. This stark rejection highlights the severe lack of progress Trump has achieved in fulfilling his pledge to halt the conflict since taking office. Sergei Ryabkov, a high-ranking foreign policy advisor to Vladimir Putin, confirmed that crucial Russian demands are not being met by the U.S. initiatives. In a first-time public acknowledgement, Ryabkov revealed that critical negotiations between Moscow and Washington concerning the Ukraine situation have completely stalled in recent weeks, directly contradicting Trump's narratives of forward momentum. "We take the models and solutions proposed by the Americans very seriously, but we cannot accept them in their current form," Ryabkov declared to the Russian magazine International Affairs, according to state media reports. This bombshell statement closely followed Trump's own public display of frustration with Putin, admitting he was pissed off and issuing warnings about potential tariffs on vital Russian oil exports. Ryabkov elaborated that discussions had merely touched upon establishing a framework for a ceasefire, leaving Russia's core concerns entirely unaddressed. As it stands, the proposals failed to include our primary requirement, which is to resolve the underlying causes of this conflict, he stated emphatically. Putin has consistently maintained that confronting these so-called root causes is indispensable for any durable resolution. He uses this position to justify his rigid stance on any potential settlement. As non-negotiable preconditions for a ceasefire, the Russian leader demands Kiev's recognition of Russia's annexation of Crimea and 4 additional, partly occupied regions in the southeast. Further demands include the complete withdrawal of Ukrainian forces from these areas, a binding pledge for Ukraine to forego NATO membership permanently, and a commitment to total demilitarization. Adding fuel to the fire, Putin has recently escalated calls for outright regime change in Ukraine, openly questioning President Zelensky's legitimacy and suggesting Ukraine should be subjected to external governance. Meanwhile, Trump finds himself increasingly vexed by both Russian and Ukrainian leadership, feeling exposed as his self-proclaimed deal-making prowess fails to deliver a truce. His initial remark about being pissed off at Putin over the stalled ceasefire talks signaled a noticeable shift from his previously more favorable comments about the Russian president. However, by Monday, Trump had altered his rhetoric again, this time accusing Ukraine of trying to renegotiate an economic agreement with the U.S. By morning, the White House clarified that Trump's frustrations extended equally to leaders on both sides of the devastating conflict. Despite multiple U.S.-led diplomatic summits and high-level discussions, including those held in Saudi Arabia, which resulted in only a nominal 30-day energy ceasefire, the practical meaning of which remains unclear, the violence has continued. Both Russia and Ukraine have persistently targeted each other's critical energy infrastructure, making a mockery of the supposed pause. Furthermore, an attempt by the Trump regime to negotiate a separate ceasefire in the Black Sea collapsed immediately. Russia insisted on conditions including the easing of significant European sanctions, an instant deal-breaker for Brussels. It appears that minimal genuine progress has been achieved, and these complex negotiations could potentially drag on well into the next year. Despite the considerable setbacks, Trump's team insists it remains dedicated to brokering peace. Trump himself stated that he and Putin have plans to speak again this week, though observers wonder how long Putin might make him wait this time. Finnish President Alexander Stubb, who conferred with Trump over the weekend, even suggested setting April 20th as a hard deadline for Putin to agree to a complete and total ceasefire. However, Kremlin insiders express deep skepticism, believing Moscow will never accept a full cessation of hostilities without securing major concessions, crucially including an end to all Western military aid and intelligence support for Ukraine. In a parallel move underscoring Moscow's long-term strategy, Putin has ordered the conscription of 160,000 men aged 18 to 30. This represents Russia's highest number of conscripts since 2011, as the nation moves aggressively to expand the overall size of its military forces. This spring call-up for mandatory year-long military service follows Putin's declaration months earlier that Russia must increase its total military personnel to almost 2.39 million, including boosting the number of active servicemen to 1.5 million, an increase of 180,000 over the next 3 years. A Russian vice admiral publicly stated that these new conscripts would not be dispatched to fight in Ukraine as part of what Russia terms its special military operation. However, numerous reports have surfaced documenting conscripts being killed in fierce fighting occurring within Russia's own border regions. The current draft period, running from April to July, proceeds despite ongoing U.S. attempts to forge a ceasefire. There was no respite from the violence today, with Ukraine reporting a devastating Russian attack on a power facility in the southern city of Kryvyi Rih, which plunged 45,000 people into darkness. Although Russia has officially rejected a comprehensive U.S.-brokered ceasefire, Moscow claims it did separately agree to cease attacks specifically targeting Ukraine's energy facilities. This statement appears to be a calculated attempt by Russian officials to deny that Moscow had blatantly broken the terms of even that limited, fragile agreement. Reports indicate that President Putin was informed about ongoing Ukrainian drone attacks, showing little sign of cessation, even as Donald Trump flew back to Washington this past Sunday. When questioned about a timeline for a Russian ceasefire agreement, Trump revealed a psychological deadline, expressing sharp irritation. "I think they're tapping us along," he declared, adding pointedly, "I will not be happy about it." However, Trump swiftly shifted his criticism, aiming his ire directly at Ukrainian President Zelensky. Trump accused Zelensky of attempting to withdraw from a crucial rare earth deal, or raw earth, as Trump frequently mislabels it. This negotiation pertains to vital U.S. access to critical minerals located within Ukraine. And if he does that, he's got some problems. Big problems, Trump warned ominously, despite facing significant challenges himself in brokering any deal. The minerals agreement was originally slated to be signed during Zelensky's visit to the White House. Instead, that high-profile meeting concluded disastrously, with open acrimony displayed before television cameras directly in the Oval Office. Trump suggested on Sunday that Zelensky's motive for potentially backing out was a desire to renegotiate the deal, seeking enhanced security guarantees. "He wants to be a member of NATO," Trump asserted. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that, Trump stated, echoing narratives often promoted by Russia regarding Ukraine's potential NATO membership. So there you have it. Trump's grand peace plan hits a Kremlin wall, negotiations are dead in the water, and tensions are flaring on all sides, from Moscow to Kyiv to Washington. Putin digs in his heels with impossible demands while drafting hundreds of thousands more soldiers. Trump cornered and frustrated, points fingers at both Putin and Zelensky, even threatening Ukraine over critical resources. We're left with broken ceasefires, escalating attacks, and a peace process in tatters. What happens now? Can Trump recover from this public rebuke? Is Putin preparing for an even longer war? And what's the real story behind that explosive Oval Office meeting and the rare earth deal? The path forward looks murkier and more dangerous than ever. What do you think is the end game here? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you found this breakdown insightful, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into global power plays, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next update. The stakes have never been higher,